My ex-wife trying to get me back by using our daughters to convince me doesn't really sound like a big problem, right? Yeah. Well, while I wish I could just plain tell her to piss off and never bother me again, there is the matter of us having two daughters and sharing custody, so I can't excise her from my life on a permanent basis. Not without removing our daughters too. We married fairly early in our lives, back when we were 20, and we'd been dating for 3 years before that. Our daughters were born in the very first year of the marriage, and there were some complications, which meant my ex-wife would have difficulty conceiving again. It didn't matter to me at the time because I was just glad she made it through the whole ordeal healthy and fine, and that we already had two beautiful baby girls to love and raise. The marriage lasted for 9 years, and it ended when I divorced her for cheating. I have absolutely no tolerance for it, and I don't believe in forcing myself to suffer needlessly for that. It wasn't my fault to begin with. While this might sound incredulous to some folks, any love I had for my ex-wife was pretty much killed when I found out about her cheating and the details behind it. So yeah, this isn't a threat about me moving on from her. I've done that 7 years ago. Hell, I don't even hate her. I just don't give a damn about what goes on in her life unless it concerns our daughters. The problem is that it's only me who moved on from the whole thing. My ex-wife, her family, and even our daughters have kept trying to get us back together. Even though I have made it plain for everyone that I have no interest in ever doing that, my not dating at first for a few years after the divorce might have been giving them false hope. But I sure as hell wasn't going to jump into another relationship so soon after, not with our daughters to look after. They were my number one priority, besides my own issues, which stemmed from the ex's cheating. Those issues got resolved with the help of friends, family, and some counseling. So yeah, that's over and done with. I have no issue in communicating with our girls. None whatsoever. They can understand everything else just fine. There's never been any fighting, no yelling, no nonsensical teenage rebellion thus far, no tantrums thrown, and so on. Pretty great, right? Except for this whole thing they know about her cheating on me. And it was their mother, in fact, who told them about it some 3 years ago or so. I imagine she's been feeding them some kind of narrative since then, and I've asked her countless times to stop with it, that it wasn't helping anyone, and that it only prevented them from moving on. But the ex-wife didn't stop. She apparently just got subtler about it. In all the years since we divorced, she hasn't dated or slept with anyone else. While I suppose she thinks that's admirable, I don't. To be honest, I find it kind of insulting. When we were married, she was with someone else, but now she's just fine going without sex for 7 years. Whatever. Not that it matters. While I could ignore the occasional mentions of their mother, or how well she looks, or them showing me photos they took with her, obviously all dressed up for my sake, it's gotten worse lately. Why? Because I have a girlfriend. Clemens is not the first since the divorce, but she is the most serious relationship I've had since my marriage ended. She also happens to be 8 years my junior. Before getting together as a couple, we knew each other for 4 years through a shared hobby. So basically, it was a gradual transition from being friends to being involved with each other. I can honestly say I love this woman. It was a surprise to me when I realized that, because while I didn't really want to admit it to myself, I was afraid for a time that what my ex-wife did to me damaged me on some fundamental level and rendered me incapable of ever truly loving someone else like I once did her. Initially, my daughters had very little to say about our relationship, much like they didn't comment on anything regarding the previous 2 I had post-divorce. But then they started coming home ahead of the schedule we set up in advance, and they'd find me and Clemens together. Nothing compromising, not sex or anything of the sort. Then came the grumbling. Then came the "why is she here" question. Then came the "it's not fair to mom what you're doing," as if I was actually doing this solely to spite or hurt their mother. So I sat them down and talked, and I talked, and I talked, but they're just not getting it. They simply won't give up on this preposterous fantasy of theirs where I get back with their mother. Clemens, thank God, has been understanding and isn't upset by their behavior. She's basically saying it just doesn't seem to be reaching them at all. Like I've said in other responses, I brought up her cheating to explain why I don't want to be with their mother, and they already knew about it, but they keep using the same approach every time of how she's faithful to me. Now, when I pointed out to them that she can't be faithful to me, given that we're not together to begin with, they just ignore that. Now here's the thing that I think is messing with their minds. They never saw their mother as anything but loving towards me or them, or at least they don't remember it. If they did see her acting coldly and distant with me during her affair, and yes, it was an affair, not just a one-time thing, not that I wouldn't have divorced her either way. She was very much the opposite of loving in the bedroom. They never really saw that, nor should they have. My approaches for intimacy were often rebuffed, and I felt more and more dejected until one day I realized with the help of a very close and very good friend, that there was nothing wrong with me, and therefore something had to be wrong with her, which is what led me to discover the affair. Because I started looking for reasons why our love life had suddenly dropped so much in quality and quantity, and it wasn't just sex. There were the small things missing from our daily lives too. I know it sounds silly, but we always kissed at the front door in plain sight before either of us went to work. That's something that only now, in retrospect, became plain to see that was missing. The bottom line is, their mother denied me even the most basic of affection, while giving it to someone else outside of our marriage. To me, that's unforgivable. They don't understand that they couldn't, not even if I told them, which I would rather note, and how hurtful it can be when you realize that your spouse didn't really give a damn about you all that much. So all this, all the regret and remorse and pining for us to get back together, to me, it's worthless. What's the point? Where was all this supposed love and guilt and remorse when it should have mattered? They seem to think that us two being together would soon override any unhappiness on my part. They can't really understand what it's like when you can't trust your partner, your spouse at that. God, I hope they never have to understand that. I would never wish for either of them to be cheated on. Now, I have talked with my ex-wife about this on numerous occasions, possibly 100 times by now, about not bringing our adult lives and messing up our daughters. In one ear and out the other, as they say. Now, despite my initial apprehension, I will end up talking with them about how their mother's cheating impacted me. I'm not even doing it for myself at that point. But what another user here has said about how they're internalizing this as their way to love has certainly got me worried. I have to make them understand that being cheated on or cheating on someone is not something to be taken lightly or just shrugged off. Regarding Clemens, she's not trying to be a mother figure to them at all. She knows there are only 12 years of difference between them, and that's not really enough for them to see her as a mother figure. Not to mention, Clem has no intentions of usurping their mother's place to begin with. Her approach is to just basically wait it out until they stop hoping for their mother and me to get back together. And then eventually, somewhere down the line, the relations between them will be comfortable enough to spend more and more time around each other, which, if all things go as expected, is going to happen sooner or later. And to be fair, my daughters are not exactly being pissy, nor are they disrespectful, full up in her face or behind her back. Hell, they don't actually hate her from what I've gathered. They just prefer me to be back with their mother. That's all. Update: it's been a while since I was first here, and I was reminded recently that I owed an update to the kind and good people here who helped me with our troubles. A lot of things have happened. Among those things, my daughters actually stumbled across my post. I had no idea they even browsed Reddit, let alone this place. When I came home one day from work, I found them crying. They pretty much jumped on me, hugged me, wouldn't let me go, and begged me to forgive them. Sadly, they had read one of my replies and found out the dreadful extent of my ex-wife's affair and how much it had devastated me. It took us a while, but we got through it as a family. There was nothing for me to forgive. They're still young, and they love their mother, who took that love and used it to manipulate them. That's on her, not them. There was some much-needed counseling, but after several months, now, I had a brief confrontation with my ex-wife about it, and made it clear that she was not to talk about getting back together. Nonsense anymore with our daughters. I can't tell if it really got through to her, but my daughters have not been pestered about me since then, or they simply ignore their mother and don't bring it up at home either way. So long as my daughters are doing fine, I could care less about what my ex-wife is doing since the situation has improved. Things have also become much better between my daughters and my girlfriend, so much that they actually started talking with her, rather than just exchanging short greetings and goodbyes, even occasionally asking for tips on something girly stuff, of course. And I can't tell you how much it warmed my heart to see it happening for the first time. I'll admit that also helped me push my thoughts in the direction of proposing to my girlfriend, who had been incredibly supportive and understanding through all of this. We had known each other for a long time now and spent so much time as a couple, and after all this mess, I didn't really think there was anything more I could do to express my love for her. However, I was beaten to the punch 2 months ago. Clemens, together with my daughters, surprised me one day and proposed to me. I have to say that I felt very odd, but also very happy. Not just the proposal, but that my daughters had actually worked with my girlfriend on surprising me with dinner and a night out, to put it simply. I was blown away. It was a small and private ceremony with only our closest friends and family attending. Currently, we're also expecting, and my daughters are looking forward to having a baby brother or sister too. Now, on to the next story. Story 2. I refused to talk to my sister, so my mom ambushed me with an intervention background. I started dating my brother's best friend when I was 16. We were together until I graduated high school when he proposed, and I rejected it. There was a lot of drama with my family, asking me to reconsider because we could have a long engagement or make a promise to reconcile my relationship with my brother. I suffered for a while, but the one with my sister never recovered. She was sure my ex was the best fit for me and became unbearable when she started dating my ex's brother. My ex was invited everywhere by my siblings, even to some family holidays, but I didn't say anything since he was their friend too. That is until my sister started to push for us to get back together. My sister did everything from trying to get us on blind dates to making us share a room during holidays. No matter the occasion, my ex was invited to it. After a while, I had enough and asked my parents to intervene. They were clear with my siblings and stopped inviting my ex to things or allowing him to tag along so much. It was slightly better, but while my brother backed off, my sister didn't. It all came to a crash when I met my husband during a semester abroad. He was from another university, but the same country, and we just clicked. It was magical for me, and we got engaged after dating for a year. My family was very happy for me, except my sister. She kept insisting I was in the honeymoon phase and would grow out of it. I clearly didn't, and after many, I can't express enough how many fights and attempts to reunite me with my ex, I simply let her know if she pulled anything again, I would stop talking to her. What does she do? After that warning, she makes me her maid of honor and requests I spend all my time with the bridal party, aka my ex's sister, one of her friends, as my husband's date. We didn't realize until we were at the reception that the poor girl tried to make a pass at my husband. My sister said that, since we are not married, it was okay to explore things with other people. I left the party, and the next day spoke with my parents and brother, explaining that while I won't make them choose, I will not talk to my sister ever again. And if they try to fix stuff between us, I will simply cut contact with them too. My mom was devastated and tried to negotiate, but my dad and brother said they would respect my decision. And apart from 2 attempts from my mom, I haven't spoken, written, or done anything with my sister in the past 6 years. My sister has tried everything to reconcile with me, from tantrums to whatever, but I simply don't talk to her at all. If we are at a family event or dinner, I simply act like she doesn't exist. At first, she made snarky comments or tried to create drama, but since nobody backed her up, she gave up. She did have a meltdown when she was informed she was invited to my wedding but would not be part of any preparation. My brother says the first thing I noticed when I arrived was my sister's car. Then, as I entered the door, there was my sister, her husband, my ex, and my ex-me. They wanted to have an intervention since my childish tactic has gone on for so long. My ex said that he was just trying to be romantic, but he understands I couldn't appreciate it. His mom said I was just hurting my sister for wanting the best for me, and she had already apologized, so I need to forgive her. I was just sending texts to my family, dad, brother, husband, and looking at my mom in disbelief. My Bill had the gall to tell me I was a hurtful person and I need to learn how to act like an adult since I'm having a baby now. Then my mom began reading a letter about how hurt she was that her daughters weren't close, how my sister was wrong, but she was well-intended, etc. Then my sister read her letter and began crying, telling me basically another version of what the rest did. I said nothing to anybody. I just sat there until my brother arrived. He was angry beyond anything I've ever seen before. He grabbed my stuff and told them all he was really disappointed and disgusted. We went outside and sat in his car until my dad and husband arrived. By then, I was just sobbing, and he kept saying, "Sorry, I am unsure what happened in there." But I sent everybody except Mom an email with my lawyer's number info attached and stated I don't wish to be contacted by any of them ever again. And if they do, I will go to the police. Nobody has contacted me, but I know from my dad that my mom and sister are hysterical. They told him they had to repair things for my sister to be able to be in my baby's life, possibly being a godmother. My dad is staying with my brother at the moment. They support me, but some others in the family don't. I've had mutual friends call me since they are worried about my sister's well-being and asking me what happened since she is now going by the narrative that my husband is keeping me away from my family. I hate having my business in public, but I did go the public route and posted a long Facebook post about everything that happened. Sister, Bill, and ex are being dragged, which even if it wasn't 100% intended, I feel is deserved. Now my mom has been inconsolable, which does make me feel bad, but not as bad as she made me feel with her little intervention. I agreed to have a talk with her a couple of days ago and laid the ground rules for any possible future interaction, including therapy, family therapy, clear boundaries, no sharing information about me with my sister, and separate holidays. Most importantly, if she ever pulls anything like this again, she will for sure be cut off. She feels this is too much, but is willing to do it. She thought it meant immediate access to baby news, and that it was all solved, but I told her it is a process, and she needs to prove she has improved. My dad and brother refuse to talk to my sister, and they keep apologizing for not stopping it earlier. We've forgiven them since they were able to move on and grow. My husband supports whatever I decide, but my mom is unsure. Cutting my mom's access to her granddaughter is the way to go, but she says it is ultimately my decision. I am torn about what to do with my mom. I wanted to post but couldn't. I want to thank you for the amount of support and advice so far. I want to give a little more info that is in my comments since there are too many for me to answer them all individually. My ex and I broke up when I was 18. He is 37 now. The reason for our breakup was that I didn't want to get married or engaged. My sister's insistence comes from the fixation of wanting both of us to marry brothers and be best friends. My mom has always been so nice to my husband, but I'm beginning to think it was all a facade, which makes me very sad. My ex has been with people since the breakup. He also has 2 kids with an ex, but he's never been married. My sister says that is a very romantic thing to do since he has only ever wanted to marry me. I should also mention his obsessive behavior is not only with me. I know from the grapevine he was very similar with the mother of his children, but now he is refocusing on me because my sister is encouraging it, as she needs his help to get back in my good graces, so she can be a good aunt. My brother did start to cut him off when I told my parents I was very uncomfortable with my ex around all the time. I was living away for college but would visit my family during breaks. He also made a very big effort to make my husband feel welcome, which deteriorated his relationship with. My dad left to go hang with my uncle since he thought it was a nice sentiment for my mom. He is very pissed off. My husband tried very hard with my sister when they met, but now he just ignores her and believes she is mentally unwell. We don't know if she is or not. Still, there is no excuse for how she behaves. They invited the ex and his mom because they thought it would be good for me to face the root of my issues with my sister, or at least that's their official version. Also, we are not Indian, not really religious. My husband and I are from the same race. There is also no wealth disparity between my ex and my husband. If there is, it would be in favor of my husband. Lastly, my in-laws, both my brother's wife and his sisters, are enraged about the situation. My husband and his sisters will be talking with their mom about her comment. My brother and his wife are considering going no contact with my mom permanently. In the meantime, they will not allow her to see my nephews for a bit. The more I read, the more I think I might have to go and see my mom for the sake of my kid. My husband is heartbroken to think all their interactions were faked, but says he is even more enraged. She made me cry and doubt that I was a good person. I realize there are still countless conversations to have with my family about my mom, but I will definitely be going for a restraining order against my sister and the ex. Update 1. The state of my family. So far I had a conversation with my mother, but she insists she knows best. I am a bad person, and she will be getting grandparents' rights or even custody. I am nothing, what she says, but I still panic. So we sent her a letter about it. My dad moved out, definitely. He told her that he could not sign on her terrorizing his kid. My brother and his wife also decided to go and see. I know it seems very sudden, but I think I undersold the level of despair I had after the intervention. My husband told them afterward that they had to think very well about what they appreciated and to be kind and receptive to everything, but would not raise a kid in a toxic environment. Reason 3,271,637. Why I love my husband. My husband is very heartbroken about my mom and her fakeness. He says she will never get anything from him. That is, as much as revenge goes here. My husband and sisters talked to my mother-in-law about her comment and made her understand why it was very out of line. As many of you assume, she is a very loving mom from a loving family. My dad and brother keep apologizing for any role they played in this. My dad can't believe it has gone this far, he says. It is still surreal for him. Regardless, they support me no matter what and say they are willing to help me fight whatever ridiculous fight my mom or sister bring. Final update. I want to thank the lovely messages and encouraging words. I decided to post it here so it wouldn't be deleted like the original was. Things are great and horrible at the same time, but I'm trying to remain positive about everything. My brother and his wife sat my nephews down and explained that Grandma was ill and tried to hurt Annie, Diamond, and the little cousin. They explained Grandma would not be part of their lives anymore, but that doesn't mean she doesn't love them. It was really hard, but the kids are smart. They were also told that other aunts are no longer in their life, but they don't care because they dislike her, not because of me alone. Simply because she is not exactly great with them either. My mom lost it when she was informed and started claiming she had rights and she would get to see her grandchildren. My dad is looking for a permanent place but will stay with us until January, mainly due to my brother's mother-in-law coming to visit and us having the space. He is really sad, has called divorce lawyers already, moved bank stuff, etc. He has been getting countless emails, messages, and calls from my mom, but he doesn't reply to anything. The lawyer told him to not block her right now. He considered maybe forgiving her, but I got a huge spike in my blood pressure. a couple of days after my last post here, because she decided to come to my place with my sister. My sister had never been to my home. My mom knew I didn't want her there, but I guess that doesn't matter anymore. The cleaning lady let them in since she knows my mom, and I haven't had the time to inform her she was not allowed to come in anymore. I was just coming from some errands, and I saw the car. This time, I didn't get in. I called all of my relatives and my sister-in-law, Hein, and he also doesn't want to talk to any of them. Again, my sister kept sending messages to my brother, begging for help, but it's not happening. I am devastated and very sad for my nephew, since he is losing so much of his family because his mother has some wacky ideas. But it is what it is. As per the custody and grandparent rights, my mom wants to throw around so much. My lawyer sent her a letter stating she caused harm to my health and the baby. And if she keeps harassing me, it will become an official legal matter. My brother also sent her a letter regarding her harassment of me. Both mom and my sister have refused to go to therapy. They might be mentally ill. But with all of this coming to light, it is obvious they have been in agreement for a long time. I will focus on spending the holidays with my family, being healthy, and going to therapy. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.